Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we'll be talking about an issue that affects many people as they reach the older years of their life, and that issue is sarcopenia. Now this may be a term that you have already heard. A few health experts like Dr. Atia have mentioned this and its importance to longevity. I even mentioned it last week when I talked about the GLP-1 medications and muscle loss. Now click here if you missed that one. But if you haven't heard about it before, sarcopenia is the age-related loss of muscle mass. It's hard to find exact numbers on how common this is because many people don't realize they have it until it's a bit too late. But it's estimated that about 5 to 10% of people over 65 years old experience this issue. Now, I've talked about the importance of bone health in the past, but alongside that, we also need to look after our muscles as we age, because if we don't, the risk of falls, fractures, and even death goes up. And like many of the things I talk about on this channel, this is something that can be prevented if you make some changes earlier on in your life. Honestly, even if you are over 65, you can make some changes to help the situation. So that's what we will be covering in this video. What sarcopenia is and what we can do about it. So let's get into it. So what exactly is sarcopenia? As I mentioned before, it's to do with the loss of muscle mass and strength that occurs as we age. Now, it's a normal part of aging and pretty much unavoidable as time goes on, but the speed at which this happens in your life can be influenced by a few things like your lifestyle, the amount of physical activity you do, and the food that you eat. Now, this loss of muscle mass can start as early as your 40s, and as you get older, the rate of muscle loss speeds up. By the time you hit your 80s, you could have lost 50% of your muscle. And considering that muscle mass makes up about 60% of your overall body mass, this can have large consequences to your health, especially in older age. Now, some of these things are loss of muscle strength, which can lead to difficulty performing tasks like lifting objects or climbing stairs, impaired muscle function, which leads to a decrease in coordination and balance, increased fatigue, and a reduction in endurance, which means that your ability to take part in physical activity for longer periods of time will go down. And finally, risk of frailty and falls. Less strength means less balance and coordination, and these things all increase the risk of falls, which are one of the leading causes of injury, hospitalization, and death in the elderly. Now, in terms of how sarcopenia is diagnosed, it will usually be based on symptoms that a patient reports during a medical history. The symptoms are pretty much what I stated earlier. We have weakness, loss of endurance, poor balance, maybe some difficulty climbing stairs and doing other activities. Now, these symptoms may lead to your doctor doing some tests such as a DEXA scan, which is usually used to find out your bone density, but it can also estimate the amount of lean muscle mass because it gives you an assessment of your body composition. It tells you how much lean tissue, muscle tissue, and bone make up your body mass. So it can give doctors an idea of how much muscle you have. But alongside the DEXA scan, a walking speed test and a grip strength test can be done too. A walking speed of 0.8 meters a second or less is usually what indicates sarcopenia, and the grip strength of less than 30 kgs in men or less than 20 kgs in women could indicate sarcopenia. Now, a grip strength test is done using a dynamometer, which looks something like this, and you essentially hold the handle and squeeze as hard as you can. So a combination of all of these would be used to give a diagnosis of sarcopenia. And now that we know a little bit about what sarcopenia is, I want to dive a little deeper and actually explore what is going on inside your body that leads to this loss of muscle as you age. Because if you truly understand how something happens, it's easier to make changes that can help the situation. So what you first need to know is that there are a few underlying processes that lead to this muscle loss. It's not just one singular thing. So one of the main reasons that muscle loss happens is because of muscle fiber changes that take place as you age. Your muscles are made up of muscle fibers, and they can be either type 1 or type 2 fibers. I'll be doing a video explaining both of these in the future, so subscribe to not miss that. But type 2 fibers are also called fast twitch muscle fibers, and these, as the name suggests, contract rapidly, meaning you need these for any activities activities that require strength and power. Now, unfortunately, as you age, these type 2 fibers shrink and become less effective. Your type 1 fibers don't go through this as much, but since type 2 fibers are needed for muscle power and more explosive movements, the loss as you age results in activities like lifting heavier objects, climbing stairs, even getting up out of a chair much more difficult. And losing muscle power also impacts on balance and coordination, which are all things you experience in sarcopenia. Now, another thing that happens as you age is hormonal changes. And to be more specific, you actually get a reduction in the anabolic hormones. These are hormones that essentially lead to growth. They lead to muscle growth. So as you age, testosterone levels will go down, and this happens in both men and women. And testosterone plays an important role in creating muscle proteins. So if this decreases, your ability to build and maintain muscle also decreases. Growth hormone is another hormone that is made less in your body as you age. And this is also needed for making muscle tissue. So again, you are losing the ability to actually make muscle in the body as these hormone levels go down. As you age, you also just become less efficient at making energy. So there is actually less energy around to make muscles, repair them, or even to drive them to do their jobs, which can lead to feelings of weakness in general. And eventually, all these things lead to a tipping point in the body, where it starts to lose muscle faster than it can build or repair it, and that will just gradually lead to muscle loss over time, which is sarcopenia. So why does all of this matter? Well, losing muscle mass and strength impacts on your overall health and quality of life. I've already mentioned some of these already, but losing muscle will impact on your mobility, which can make even simple tasks like walking, standing up, or climbing stairs, playing with your grandchildren, much more difficult. Muscle is also the supportive structure around your joints. So if you lose that, your balance and coordination will be affected, and this is big because it increases the risk of falls, which is a huge issue for older adults. Falls are the #1 cause of hospitalization due to injury, and they lead to fractures which take a long time to recover. I've seen many elderly patients lose their sense of independence because of a fall. They no longer are able to do their daily activities on their own, and this impacts hugely on their mental health. And part of preventing falls is making sure you address sarcopenia and try to maintain your muscle. So how do you do that? Well, that's going to have to go into another video because there's a lot to get through. But it won't be surprising to know that the key is a mix of fitness and diet. The most important thing though is early intervention. Start as early as possible with these changes. Don't wait until there is a fall or until your muscle weakness is extreme. Start while your muscles are still going okay and keep it that way for as long as you can. The more muscle you have when you reach your 40s and above, the longer it will take for all those processes to lead to significant muscle loss. And there is plenty of research out there that has shown that resistance exercise or weight training can slow down age-related muscle loss even in the older years. So it's never too late to make some changes for the sake of your quality of life. I know we all want to live as long as we can, but we want them to be good and healthy years too. So I will wrap things up now. Hopefully that helped explain what the whole deal with sarcopenia is. If you learned something or enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe. I put out a new video every Friday that can help you get educated about health in some way. I'll see you all next week, and until then, keep playing the long game.